Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Thursday, May 22nd. I was going to say 24th. I don't know why. 2025. And today we're going to talk about incorporating amendments into soil when you're not turning the soil over. We'll talk about pelleted seeds being annoying and starting a garden on clay in a cold climate. So let's do it. All right, well, what's up Thursday? Good to see you again. I did my usual packing of vegetables yesterday and little odds and ends around the farm. Honestly, it was like lovely weather out yesterday, so if part of the day was just me sort of staring off into space, enjoying the weather, that was probably justified. I will take all the cool days I can get headed into the summer, which will no doubt be a blazing hot one, like all of them. We almost always get some of our hottest days in June, in fact, or at least they feel that way when your body is not quite hardened off to the heat yet. It's the same thing in the fall. When November and December kind of physically feel colder than January, it's kind of the same thing in the summer when June actually feels hotter than July and August. So maybe I will be cursing these nice days come summer when my body is left unprepared for the heat, or maybe I'll just be cursing the heat because it's hot and I'm grumpy, or maybe I just like cursing. We'll see soon enough. Okay, so as is tradition on our Thursdays, we're going to take 3 Patreon questions to help us get caught up for the spring. So our first Patreon question of the day comes to us from Nathan Leal Crisp, who writes, quote, "I have a question about lime, particular about calcitic lime with a one-time application. North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services recommends an application of lime. They recommend if you do a surface application, do not exceed 60 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Can this affect other ways of managing the planting area, such as choices in fertility management, plant options with direct or broadcast seeding, transplanting? We're trying to follow the soil health principles while still producing food this year, trying to use more no-till style methods because of the benefits that go along with it." Nathan adds some soil test details, then goes on, "I plan on broad forking, spreading pelletized calcitic lime, gypsum, some very slow organic amendments, raking and watering in well, then covering with a tarp for 7 to 14 days, hopefully creating a stale seed bed. Then remove tarp, sow," and they say parenthetically, "plants that will surround main crop, helping soil and next crop. Add other amendments and fertility, apply AEA products, apply appropriate mulch, irrigate tarp to germinate beneficial plants, uncover for 1 to 3 days. Transplant main crops like tomatoes, etc. if necessary, irrigate, then manage, harvest, store. Your show is really good. God bless," end quote. All right, awesome. And thanks, Nathan. I really love this question because it really gets to the heart of one of the biggest challenges of no-till production, and that is amending the soil without tilling. One of the biggest concerns that agronomists have told me they often have with no-till agriculture, and generally I'm talking about larger scale, sort of conventional no-till agriculture, but it could apply to really any scale, is a sort of stratification or layering of nutrients where the amendments that are applied just sort of form layers instead of getting incorporated into the soil. And indeed, the recommendation on the lime makes sense if you were to apply the normal recommendation for the pH that you have, whatever that would be. It could create serious nutritional issues right at the surface. This is one of the reasons that I generally suggest the one-time tillage in the very beginning of a garden's life to get the amendments you need worked in right from the start, and then use compost and cover crops to help manage nutrition from there on out. Anyway, I think your planned approach sounds good, although one tweak I would probably make is to add the amendments first and broad fork after that to help kind of work it into the soil. Broad fork closer than you normally do, like closer together. And that's just to make sure the amendments get plenty of opportunities to kind of drop down into the root zone. I don't have a lot of opinions on what amendments in particular you should use and you mentioned quite a few things there, or how much. I will leave all that to the agronomist, but I think using the broad fork and rake to work those amendments in is the right call. And always, listeners, make sure your agronomist is aware of whether or not you will be tilling to avoid that stratification issue when they are making their recommendations. For me, I like to add my rock amendments to the compost pile if I can when we use them. I like to then broad fork that compost in, or just surface apply and then go over them with a seeder. I've even used this earthway several times to drill amendments right into the soil, so they are not just sitting on the soil surface. Basically, you just put the amendments in the hopper of the seeder, use like the jumbo plate, and then you can just sort of push it through the soil as long as the soil is in a condition that you can do that, like it's got good tilth. If your soil is biologically active enough and adequately moist, then the nutrients will be slightly more mobile in the soil from simple movements of soil organisms, roots, etc. Anyway, I know I didn't add add a lot there. But I think by and large, your approach here is fine, especially for a garden that is already established, and it's hard to kind of go back and correct any nutrition once you've gone into a no-till system. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, starting a garden on clay in a cold climate, BRB. Today's episode is brought to you by Farmhand. I started a CSA to grow food and build community, not to drown in admin work. Spreadsheets, emails, and pack lists take up too much time. If I could spend less time at my desk and more in the field, that'd be a win. Enter Farmhand. Farmhand automates billing, newsletters, websites, and member support, saving CSA farmers 20 plus hours a week. Focus on farming, not paperwork. See how Farmhand can help. Book a one-on-one demo with founder Ari at farmhand.partners/no-till. That's farmhand.partners/no-till. Today's episode of Growers Daily is brought to you by Ring of Fire. What if you could turn your brush problem into black gold? The Ring of Fire Biochar Kiln is your spring tool for soil transformation, converting woody debris into high-quality biochar in just hours. Biochar will kickstart your compost, retain water and nutrients in your soil, and provide habitat for beneficial microbes. Now $19.95 with flat rate shipping. Their spring sale runs through June. Don't wait to boost your soil and optimize your inputs. Visit ringoffire.earth/growers now to learn more. Also, for more information on biochar, check out the No-Till Market Garden podcast interview with Kelpie Wilson, inventor of the Ring of Fire kiln, that we will link in the show notes. All right, back to the show. If you, the listener, are enjoying this podcast, getting even a small amount of value from it, consider supporting our work over at patreon.com/no-till-growers. I will try to get to questions from everywhere that questions come in, but I will always get to your Patreon questions. Now, today's second Patreon question of the day comes to us from Patreon member Austin at Vital Root Farm, who writes, quote, "Hey Jesse, I'm a longtime follower of the podcast/YouTube channel and decided to put a little skin in the game here on the Patreon page as I begin to earn direct value from your work with a teeny tiny CSA in northern Minnesota Zone 3A. Awesome to hear. Thank you. I am intending to open some new ground that has everything going for it: proximity to water, my house, my wash pack, my compost, etc., except the ground itself is dreadful. Generally, the field I grow in is extremely dense clay with a little organic matter, but the particular area I need to open is that dense clay that has also been driven over for many years by past owners. Compacted clay with additional compaction, what could be better? I don't expect to have this ready for production this year. Next year would be great. I have a broad fork and access to a tiller. I'm thinking to let the ground dry out while I tarp it, remove the tarp and apply a good amount of compost. Give it a deep initial till, plant sorghum, Sudan grass, or rye, terminate, and finish with a second cover crop that will winter kill. Thoughts? Thanks." End quote. All right. Awesome. Thanks, Austin. And thanks for the support. I got to say, when someone tells me that they have an entire year to get a garden ready, that makes me so happy for them. Time just makes all the difference in market gardening. If I ever start another farm in my life, in which case you will know I have truly lost my mind, so send help, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I would absolutely want at least a year to get the soil and infrastructure ready. And for clay, that is truly going to pay dividends because, well, clay is ornery and needs a little convincing to produce much of anything. So as we discussed in the first segment, I often recommend getting the complete amendment package per the recommendation of an agronomist worked into the soil with a one-time tillage in the beginning of a garden's life, so you are not having to do that work later on. I also suggest adding a little inoculated biochar to the initial package, plus some amount of good compost if you have it. Then a summer cover crop following a winter cover crop sounds like a great plan. I think the sorghum Sudan grass is a good call for you in the summer. Rye, maybe I would hold off on that for now, just because it's not much of a summer cover. What I like about the cover cropping as well is you will be able to spot problems, like problem areas that may take a little longer to get under control the next year. You'll just see the struggle in the cover crop when they turn yellow or don't perform as well as the other crops. I mean, hopefully you don't see that at all, but if you do, then you know those areas may need some more work, like a good broad forking perhaps in the spring, perhaps some more better compost worked in there, perhaps another short cover cropping in the spring. Just whatever you can do to kind of improve that area. Also, while you have the time, use some of it to plot out how the irrigation will work, how the plots will be lined out. If you plan on having a high tunnel, take the time to work on the drainage and leveling and figure out exactly where that tunnel will go so it doesn't affect too much of the sunlight. I love that it's going to be closer to your house, this garden area. Like I often say, a plot closer to your house on meh soil will serve you better than a plot further away on perfect soil because you will be visiting it more often. You will have more time to yourself to garden or do whatever you want, all those things. I know this section was probably more validating than advising, but I think time is the most underrated and underappreciated amendment in terms of soil management and repair. While that cover crop is growing too, you can identify problem areas such as where it does not grow well, but also potentially aggressive weeds that are competing with the cover crop. Keep track of those, and obviously don't let those weeds go to seed if you can help it. Dig up perennial roots and really get those gardens prepped for a big second year. I envy that position, honestly. When we started our last 2 farms, there was no time to wait. We needed cash flow and we needed it fast, but it always felt like we were behind and hustling to catch up. And I mean, it still feels that way on this farm. Starting or expanding any business is just bananas. It's going to take a lot of work and is going to require just an enormous amount of your attention in the beginning, but the less building you can do while you're producing, the better. Once you start that train, it's hard to work on it. So get that train and track as set up as possible first, and then send it on its way. I think we're still talking about gardening. So anyway, I wish you the best of luck and keep us updated on how it goes. Otherwise, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, those pesky pelleted seeds. Be right back.
Take me back to the old dirt road where Mama and Papa used to go. Let's sing all them songs from a long time ago and pine for them old days of yore. Well, let me run through the breeze like the leaves on.
Today's episode is also brought to you by FarmRaise. Still struggling with your balance sheet? Your lender's asking for a balance sheet and you're stuck with a spreadsheet mess or guessing your numbers? FarmRaise Tracks takes the stress out of farm finance. With one click, you can generate an accurate, up-to-date balance sheet that shows your assets, liabilities, and equity. No accounting degree required. You'll be ready for loan applications, tax season, or just a clearer picture of where your farm stands. Join thousands of farmers using Tracks to build stronger businesses. Get 20% off with code NOTIL20 at farmraise.com for the lifetime of your membership. Today's episode is also brought to you by Precip. Precip is billed as the easiest way to keep track of rainfall, and that is true, but it is a lot more than that. Sure, you can open the app and immediately see accurate rainfall totals, but you can also save locations to see historical rainfall totals, wind speeds, and all sorts of other nerdy details. Their radar-based technology means you can ditch the rain gauge. I usually have to do that anyway because the kids find a way to smash it with a baseball bat. You can ditch the rain gauge and start tracking rain and other growing conditions all on your phone. Click the link in the show notes to find out more. All right, back to the show. All right, our third and final question for this Thursday comes to us from Chris Smith, who writes, quote, "Hey, Jesse, I was wondering if you had any tips or tricks for starting pelleted seeds. I think I have pretty good success rates, but I'd be a lot happier if my germ rate was closer to what the seed package says it is," end quote. Okay, so good question, and certainly going to be poignant for some folks who are starting seeds right now and sowing like mad because 'tis the season. So pelleted seeds are seeds that are covered in generally like a clay coating that makes them effectively uniform in size, but also generally slightly larger. Like I've mentioned before, I refuse to buy celery seed that is not pelleted because I would never get anything else done but seeding celery that wasn't unpelleted. To be sure, there are also pelleted seeds that contain fertilizers and such. Perhaps, obviously, that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about the basic pelleting that is approved for use on organic farms with organic seeds. You don't want the colorful pelleted seeds, but most seed companies we deal with, like High Mowing, Fedco, etc., do not sell treated seeds, so you should be good to go there. But Johnny's does sell some corn, peppers, cucumbers, etc., that are treated and not organic compliant. But they are very clearly denoted, and they make sure to go out of their way so that you're not buying those. But just double check when you're buying any seed to make sure it's not coated with like a fungicide or something. Won't help you grow anything. You kind of need the fungi. But I'm digressing. So some advantages to pelleted seeds is also that by having the uniformity, you can singulate the seeds easier, which is, again, is a term that is basically not a term in anything but market gardening. But to us, it means to drop the seeds one at a time. So that could be in a seeder directly into the soil or in a drop seeder into trays. It's also a lot easier to seed stuff by hand if it's pelleted. Pelleting just speeds up the seeding process tremendously, but also gets you a uniform distribution of seeds. Anyway, it is often said that sometimes pelleted seed can be harder to germinate, though this should not inherently be true. Many people do feel that way, and in fact, I have worse luck with pelleted carrot seeds than non-pelleted carrot seeds, and I partially attribute this to moisture. My assumption is that the initial moisture around the seed will be taken up by the coating, so perhaps if the moisture is not adequate in the soil or soil mix, that could slow down the germination. In carrots, this is not great because once carrot seeds get wet, they need to stay that way really for 7 to 14 days straight to achieve the best germination. So perhaps the issue is just not enough moisture for some seeds. But to be fair, I know I said I try it, but I've really only tried this pelleted seeds a few times and then decided it wasn't for me, since we do fine with naked seed, which just means seeds that are not pelleted. Another thing that is often said about pelleted seeds is that they won't last very long, but I can't really find much research to back that up. Some research even seems to suggest that pelleting actually preserves the seed better, though perhaps it depends on what the coating is, the conditions it was kept in, warmth, humidity, all those things. I found one study that suggested lower germination rates for onion seeds pelleted with micronutrients after 14 months, but onions in general have poor germination after a year, so that is not super helpful. I found another older study that found no real difference for coated lettuce and onion seeds, and in some cases they stored better, but the coatings have likely changed, and along with that, the efficacy. Effectively, I don't see that it's definitive that coatings hurt seed storage so long as the storage conditions are generally good. Cool with low moisture. So, in my opinion, the pelleted seeds may not be the problem, though you might have to simply adjust for a bit of moisture up front to break through the dry coating and saturate the seed adequately. And maybe it's possible if they are older seeds, the age may be an issue. Feel free to let me know, dear listener, if you have any other insight on pelleted seeds in the comments section, and we will discuss it tomorrow for Feedback Friday, because that's what we do on Fridays. Otherwise, you should be good to go as long as the general germination requirements are met for the seed. It shouldn't have a great effect. Thank you for the question. And speaking of good to go, I think that's it for this Thursday. Don't forget, that is no-till growers, are now officially a nonprofit 501c3, so donations, well, they're tax deductible and greatly appreciated. You can learn more about how to do that in the comments section. Please make sure to like and subscribe and or follow wherever you're getting this podcast. That's an easy way to help us out as well. Enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors. And if you'd ever like to sponsor the show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at no-tillgrowers.com. Huge shouts to Willie Bean for the theme music, Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing, and the team at No Till Growers. Also, shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear. Pick up a copy of the Living Soil Handbook of the Seed Farmer at no-tillgrowers.com to support our work. Big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/no-tillgrowers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, or if you just sign up in May, you get a shout out on the show. So big shout outs today to Kyle Richardville and Daniel Sluice? Yep. I think I got it. Maybe. All right, so after like an hour or so with Laurel just like passed out, a few of the ranch hands decide to stay back and try to revive Laurel, while the others decide to go venture off into this strange new world around them to find help. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're gonna have to listen to the beginning of the week. Anyway, the curious thing about this world is that everything in it is just verdant. The barns are in the same place, but everything around the barns is greener. The farmhouse is in the same place, just surrounded by trees and grass and animals. These ranch hands, they decide to seek out the local doctor in town to maybe see if they are still in existence to help Laurel. They hop in a small electric cart that they find, and it absolutely zips, which is good. So they zip into town and they just kind of stay in awe of the world around them. The road is covered in tiles that appear to be taking up the energy of the cars and things that are traveling over them. Solar panels line the houses and the street sides, where before there were none of those things. It seems to them like the town is exactly the same and altogether completely different. Finally, though, they find their doctor friend, who seems unfazed by the new environs and agrees to come with them, with the ranch hands, to come check on Laurel, because the doctor knows Laurel. And as they drive back, they enjoy the cool breeze. A cool breeze being something that's rarely felt in like a typical Texas summer to them. And they know they're going to miss this if, when Laurel wakes up, it all goes away. If being the operative word, but that's for tomorrow on The Little Ranch That Could Be. Yeah. It's solid. All right. Thanks for watching and or listening. We will see you tomorrow for Friday, for Feedback Friday. Bye.